All right, we're live. This is American Hammers TV. We have a very special guest today from Germany. What's going on, Jonathan? How are you today?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, my man. So we found each other on Twitter,
Yes, we
which
do.
is my least favorite place to go, but 'cause it's so negative. But it seems like I find the best guest there. So pleasure to meet you, my man.
Same here.
So how on earth did you become a hammer?
It's pretty short story actually. Well, obviously I'm from Germany, and we don't really get the Premier League here. It's not really something people watch or talk about. Really, it's all about the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, the Zone started in Germany. Do you know what it is?
No.
Yeah, I think it's in America as well. It's a streaming platform that shows all kinds of sports like box. I think it's boxing in America. It's big for. Um, but it showed the Premier League in Germany, and that was the first time I really watched the Premier League. Um, ever really. So they just showed a few games from different teams and anything. And one time they showed the match between West Ham and Manchester United. It was 2 years. It was the last season at the Bowling Ground. When was 3 years ago? No,
Yeah.
3 years ago, right? And I don't know if you remember this. It was the game where Andre Herrera was on the ground, just wasting time really, and
Yeah.
Mark Noble just picked him up and carried him off the field. Uh,
Yeah.
so I watched that, and then I thought like, and then they showed a few matches after that, and I just kept watching really. And the last season at the Bowling Ground was such an amazing season, and they played really well. So I just thought
Yeah.
maybe I just keep watching this team, and over time I don't know, I just fell in love with the club, I guess.
Yeah, that's a similar. We hear that a lot. That's got to be the worst season to
Right?
have started watching because you get your hopes up, thinking that it's such a great team, such a great squad,
Oh yeah.
and then they moved to Olympic Stadium and have done not very well since. But I started watching during the season that we got relegated, and
All
then
right.
the
It was
next
20,
season.
2011 or what?
Yeah, 2010, 2011.
2010.
And
All right.
then the first full season I watched was the 2011, 2012 season.
Okay.
Because in America, we do get a lot of championship matches on television. So I was able to watch some of the games. That season was amazing because we won all the time, and then we
Right.
got promoted and we stayed up for yeah, we've been up since. That's an amazing feat compared to the teams in the Premier League right now that are not the top six clubs. We're one of the only few that's stayed there, this long. So that's it's definitely a plus, but it's very frustrating to follow West Ham,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
especially in times like these where we start the season strong and look where we're at right now. Not so good.
I,
So
I,
mentioned
I,
James
I got a
Tottenham.
question right away for you and
Yes,
for
sir.
everybody else. Really, I don't know. The saying in Germany is, if you're a bad team, that's always fighting against relegation, right? Every season,
Yeah.
season after season, you're always down the table. Maybe it's better to go down one season and then go straight back up, right? What do you think of that?
That's a good question. I I thought that we needed to go down. The club needed to go down at that point
Right.
where you're right. It was a fresh restart. We rebuilt and put ourselves in a situation to get back into the Premier League. And then once we got there, the main job was to keep us there. But we weren't going any farther. So the next step was to, hey, let's bring in a new manager and like Slaven Bilic and try to push even farther. And but to your question, um, it's tough because
especially especially
nobody,
now with all the wages and all the players that expect a certain, I don't know, quality to the club and maybe going for Europe and everything. I think
yeah,
going down and this season or next season or any time really would be probably the worst thing to happen to this
no,
club.
Well, yeah. If we, um, man, that's tough. So nobody wants to get relegated, obviously,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
we definitely could use a restart, especially if there's all of these promises of, oh, we're going to the next level. We're gonna go to the next level, but we're not even close. We're not even close to the next level. So,
Not really.
um, if we were, say, like Burnley or something like that, they go down all the time. They come back up. Norwich, that's another one, like up and down. Who knows? Fulham might be back soon. That's another up and down team. Crystal Palace used to do it all the time. They've stopped. They've stayed in the Premier League for a few years now, but it depends on the club, I guess. It depends on what the ambition is. The owners tell us that the ambition is top six, Europe. And well, it
Right.
doesn't really show. I mean, well, it can't say it doesn't show. They've spent a good chunk of money, but
Well, yeah.
they got a nice manager. They spent a
That's
lot
it.
of money on a manager, but I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, I would I would say we could use it right now, but if we're going to continue to put money into the club and try to push forward, or say get rid of Pellegrini and get a better manager, then maybe going down wouldn't be a good idea.
Probably
Um,
not.
you
But
know,
the way we're playing, it's probably gonna happen anyway. So.
yeah. Well, if you look at the schedule, the fixtures,
Right.
we got Tottenham, Chelsea. We also got Wolves in there, and
Mm.
and Leicester before
I
the end
mean,
of the year.
we haven't really played anybody. Who did we play? Liverpool at the Man City at the beginning of the season, the first game of the season, right?
Yeah, Man
And
City. Yep.
since then, nobody from the top six. Is that right?
No, you're right.
So that's
That's
I
scary.
don't really see where things are where points
Well,
are coming from.
well, some people will say that that's the West Ham way. We lose to the shitty teams and we beat the good teams, right?
Right.
So maybe we're due for a stretch of wins. Although our only wins have come from shitty teams. We've
Right.
already played
Yes.
16 and we lost bad. Man City whooped us. Um, so we got here in the chat room. Ben Davis says that last time that we were in the championship, he did enjoy it. So did I. But I was brand new at
Sorry.
following West Ham there.
I can I just say
Yeah,
something?
of course.
Obviously, I wasn't watching when we were in the championship. But the only experience I have with like clubs going down is a league or something is like in Germany. Um, the club Hamburger SV. I don't know if do you know that? It's like a famous club in Germany. It's the only club that's never been relegated. They
I'm
went
sorry,
down a
which one?
couple.
Which
Hamburger
club?
SV.
Yes,
Hamburg,
Hamburg. Yeah,
right? Yes.
yes.
They went down a couple seasons, and then everybody thought, oh, they're so good, they're gonna go straight back up. But they didn't, and the season they played down there, I watched a couple of games, and I don't know what it is about a second league or like, you know what I mean, the championship or the Zweite Bundesliga or
Bundesliga too. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the games there, I don't know, the teams there just fight more like a Premier League team. I don't know what I don't know if it's just me or something, but I really enjoy like a lower league football game more than I enjoy a Premier League team
Personally, I do
play.
too. I mean, personally, I love watching, League Two matches, League One championship matches, championship especially, because championship, like you're saying, it's a fight, man. It's a fight. It's a longer season. There's
Right.
more matches, and it's a fight to get back into the Premier League. So it's definitely more enjoyable. But at the same time, as Kent Hammers says here, I kind of agree with this. It would be catastrophic to go down. We'd be playing in a half-empty stadium. Loss of money, high earners. We would sack Pellegrini, the tactical cleanup dinosaur, and get someone else in. Yeah, man. I mean, there's a lot of different opinions on this. Where who knows?
I mean,
I think that a lot of it would get rid of a lot of um, the fans that are
negativity.
just
Yeah.
casual fans. It would strengthen the fan
Right.
base, I think.
True.
You know,
But I mean, the fact that we're even talking about going down is that's just wrong to begin with. I mean, we spent a lot of money the last two seasons, and we shouldn't
yes.
be talking about going down or even
No, you're
even
right.
even
Yeah, it's
in the
true. It's
yeah.
Yeah, it's just where we sit right now. It's unfortunate.
right?
We're close to where we sit. We're very close. But we're at the same time we are almost 2 wins away from top seven.
Well, yeah, season is still, yeah, season is still. How many matches were played? 10? 10? It's still early on, so I mean, it's still time enough to turn the season around, really. I mean, we
Yeah,
could still qualify for Europe, and all of this talk would be for nothing, really. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
But
it's
it's
yeah.
it keeps coming up, man, all the time. Have you ever gone to London for a match?
No, I haven't.
No.
I mean,
So
to
who's
be
your
honest,
team?
I'm
Who's your local team?
um. So Bundesliga team is Eintracht Frankfurt. It's about an hour away, and I mean, it's Germany. Really, every little town has a football club. So the best team, like close to me, that I go regularly to watch matches is Fulda. They, but that's like League 6 or 7. That's, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But I have been to a West Ham game before, twice actually. They were in a preseason friendly. They came to Germany a few years ago
Oh,
against Werder Bremen, which
yeah.
was actually my brother is a Werder Bremen fan. It was just perfect. We went up to North Germany and we watched the 2 games back to back. Really nice there.
It's awesome. Yeah. Um, they've come here as well, but the United States is so massive. It's really not easy to travel. I guess they came to North Carolina, and they also came to Seattle, which is on the
Right.
opposite side of the country. It's not the easiest thing to travel to these things, but no, I missed them both times they were here. But I did see them twice at the new stadium in London,
Okay.
and we didn't lose either match. I was
How
shocked.
really? Who was it against?
We 0-0 against Man United and 3-1 against Everton in the
Uh,
2017-18 season, the last two home
So
games.
how is the stadium really?
I
How
liked it.
did you find? Really?
Yeah, I mean, well, it was a shock to me because I'd never been before, so
Yeah,
it
sure.
was all new. It was
Right.
all new to me. So and there was West Ham colors everywhere. I mean, outside the stadium, the people, the people walking to the match, the atmosphere outside the stadium was, uh, it just depends where you were. I mean, unfortunately, everything else in that area, that town, is so far away from the stadium.
Mm,
It's like
right.
just sitting by itself along a little, waterway. Um, Inside the stadium, the atmosphere was, shitty against Manchester United,
Okay.
because it was 0-0. It was boring. It was wet. It was cold. It was a night game, and it was kind of miserable, and it was a very boring game. Dave Moyes set up his team to edge out a draw and play very boring. So that was the atmosphere too. The atmosphere was boring. But now the last home match of the season against Everton, against Sam Allardyce was managing at the time. It was very exciting. We were winning. I mean, we ended up winning, so it was a very exciting game. His last game was beautiful, sunny day. Everybody was happy. I mean, the place was buzzing. It was a completely different experience. So it just
Right. The,
depends on how West Ham's doing and the weather,
right.
I
The
guess.
problem I have with the London Stadium is I don't know if you go to a right the local team or the team my family is a fan of is Werder Bremen, like my brother, right?
Yeah,
So if we go to an away game, really, the fans there and the whole atmosphere and everything else is supposed to I, I don't know how to say this like make you fear going there, make you afraid of the team you're about to play, and just an hostile atmosphere really.
yeah.
And it's just not. I don't feel like when a team comes to the London Stadium, I don't think they feel afraid to play West Ham. I just
No,
think they
you're right.
they they're just happy to be there really, and just maybe
Yeah,
take a look at the stadium, right?
you're right though. You made a great point. Um, Upton Park was ferocious at times.
Right.
You know, even aside from the hooligans. I mean, even aside from that, just the atmosphere itself, the way the stadium was set up, and the crowd was on top of you.
Right.
The atmosphere was ferocious, and it's it can't be. I mean, the way London Stadium is, it's everything is so far back, and there's different sections. There's no
Right.
standing. There's all these issues
Well, there,
preventing.
I never understood that. There's no standing in England at all, is there? I don't. There's no
Ah,
stand. Is there?
maybe in the Premier League. I don't. I think there is standing. I mean, because obviously some of the lower division teams they have standing room only. I mean,
All
not
right.
all the stadiums are all seated.
All
Um,
right. But the
so
London
I would
Stadium is
say Premier League for sure because it's a requirement that all stadiums in the Premier League are all seaters.
right. I never understood that. I just don't get it. In
I don't
Germany, when
either.
you walk into a stadium, the first thing you see is the standing area. And it's if you stand amongst those fans, you never get anything like that really.
No, you're right. You're right. So what is the? I mean, the atmosphere you were saying. So the match you went to in Germany, or the matches you've gone
Right.
to in Germany, the atmosphere is it's ferocious. It's a lot different. It's more intense.
Especially in Frankfurt itself.
Yeah.
The the stadium is called das Waldstadion. It's the best stadium in Germany. Really, you walk through a forest right into the stadium. It opens up.
That
It's
sounds
beautiful.
awesome.
It's a beautiful stadium, but and if you go in there, because I'm not really a Frankfurt fan. I mean, I know that they're a great club and they represent like a fighting spirit and everything, but
Mhm.
we always went as away fans, and every time you kind of tuck your head in and just hope nobody recognizes you because
Really?
yeah, it's
Still? Oh yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Wow. Um, where where do you watch West Ham matches? Do you watch it at home? Do you watch it at a pub with friends? Do you have a
Um,
group?
I have a friend of mine who's kind of become a West Ham fan through me.
Okay.
My brother obviously he came to me with the matches and everything, so I'd say he's a West Ham fan as well. I've met a few at the games, especially. I've met a few and we talked about. But watching them, I asked my brother and some of my friends if they want to do, but in Germany most people only watch the Bundesliga, so I'm kind of
Yeah.
alone on that. But they're on Sky now, the Premier League matches, so I watch them anytime they show a West Ham game.
Well, according to the West Ham website, there are other groups, not near you, but like, there are other groups
Yes, I've
in Germany.
I've read
Yeah,
about
like
it. Yes,
big groups too,
yes.
where they
I've
get together. So is it that? So what's the nearest city to you? I mean, I guess you live in a city, right? You said
No, not really.
no,
I
you
live
don't.
out in the I don't know what country. Yeah, but out in the
Country,
country. Yeah.
out in the country. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no. Well, it's one of those things. How far or how long would it take for you to get to, say, visit one of these other groups and see
yes,
how they run things?
I know one is in Mainz.
Yep.
It's still one in my state really, but it's about 2.5 hours away, so it's pretty far for me to drive to them to watch the games every Saturday. It's just too far away, really. But I mean, uh, West Ham doesn't have the recognition in Germany that other English clubs have, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, in my if I ask anybody or if they see me wearing a West Ham shirt, they always ask me what's that club or
Yeah.
who's there, where do they play? It's not like everybody knows who that club is, and it's like let's just start watching the games. You
Well, it'll
mean
happen. Yeah. No, it'll happen though. It's one of those things
if
where I try my best to always, when I'm not working, if I'm out in the public, I try to wear, at least West Ham colors or West Ham, shirts in hopes
right.
that somebody will say,
And
hey,
I think
you know,
being in Europe would help this club immensely. I
oh
know
yeah.
last year and the year before, the team I talked about is Frankfurt. They qualified for the Europa League, right? I don't know,
Hmm.
and they went to the semi-final, I believe. And the club just rose in recognition and fan base and everything. They're one of the biggest clubs in Germany right now, just because they played such good football, such attacking football, and
Yeah.
and they showed real passion for the game. And
Yeah,
I think that's exactly what West Ham needs. They're not a big club right now, West Ham. Well, for us, obviously they are, but not worldwide really. And I think a season where they could show what the fans are made of, what the club is made of,
yeah,
it could really make this club popular.
yeah. So over here in the States, they featured in an episode of The Simpsons, and a lot of people had no idea what the hell West Ham United. They probably thought it was a fake team, kind of like the Albuquerque Isotopes, which is actually a real team too now from The Simpsons. But no, just for example, it's something that's it's peaked its way into some pop culture, and if you look at the British television show, The IT Crowd. It featured an episode of that as well. That's one of the first times I ever even heard of West Ham was watching that show back in 2007. But no, it's one of those things with this particular American Hammers TV. It's turning into like a worldwide Hammers show because we've interviewed people from South Australia who's actually in the chat room right now. Neil from Down Under, he's from South Australia. We've interviewed people from Brazil. Actually, tonight on our weekend review show, we have they do a guy from Hammers Brazil on the show. We're finding people all over the world, though. And
Right.
there's a lot more fans that we can even imagine. I mean, for West Ham, it's just yes, you're right. The club should recognize it because there's so many of us, but we're not connected. We're
Right.
not connected by any means. We're not even connected to the club. The club doesn't even recognize all of us. They
Right.
only recognize a select few. Um, the other thing is we're trying to unearth all these fans. First, we tried to unearth show all these fans here in the United States because the original host and myself, Lee and myself, we had a bet going on, a gamble, saying, "Hey, you know what? I think that there's way more West Ham fans than you can imagine." And he was saying, "Well, there's not really that much. We don't know anybody else. So if we don't know anybody else, there can't be anybody else." So we've been slowly just showing there's West Ham fans everywhere in the United States, not just the United States, but Canada, Brazil, Thailand, Hong Kong. I mean, everywhere. Australia. I mean, New Zealand. I mean, it's just all of it was Germany. I mean, there's not. See, my point is the West Ham website only says there's a few groups in Germany, only a few. I don't buy it. I think there's a lot more West Ham fans and supporters than that. That's my
I
point.
think so
Same
too.
thing with the United States. They only have so many supporters groups from America on that website. I think there's a lot more than that, and not just the supporters groups, but supporters in general. I mean, there's a lot of people in this world, all over the world, that spend money on West Ham, that contribute, that buy, that travel, that'll fly over there to go watch a match and
Right.
and enjoy the experience and follow West Ham, buy
I
the
mean,
jerseys, the whole 9 yards, and the club doesn't give a shit. I don't
yeah,
think. I
yeah,
personally,
me
that's what I
neither.
don't think. But
But I think also the club also tried to be more of a brand, of a global brand and a global club. The move to the London Stadium, first of all, I think was just meant to be like something to be recognized and something to be get in the news, but also the badge they changed the badge, right?
yeah,
And they put London on there so people know it's a London club. But I mean, it's gonna take time before that badge is recognized anywhere in the world, really. And the old badge, maybe some German people recognize the old badge, right? The castle is, I mean, it's pretty iconic. But the
it
new
is.
badge, nobody knows. I mean, nobody has ever
No.
seen it before, really.
Yeah, I know. I was very disappointed when we got rid of that. When we got rid of the castle. The castle had
Right,
been there for a
right.
while, but the club started out with just the hammers, though. That was their argument. The badge
I mean,
only had
yeah,
the hammers, and then eventually, over time, they added the castle. They had a couple different versions of it, like the one on Steve Harris's bass guitar from Iron Maiden. Um, but I guess they say well, we're the hammers, we're the irons, we're not the castles. Um, that's
right.
but at the same time, that castle badge, man, that's what I fell in love with. I mean,
Me
that's
too,
what's
me
ingrained in
too.
my head.
Right.
This sun gun right here, yeah, that badge. But Yeah, you're right. I mean, they had. I don't feel that they needed to put London in there. I mean, yeah, sure. Everybody's like, oh well, where's West Ham? The West
Right.
Ham's not in West Ham, so they play in So I don't know, but it was a shitty move. But at the same time, they thought that would clean it up and it would send us, that in the stadium would send us into Europe. It will, will be a big, giant, brand new club.
Right.
Well, thanks, board. So just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's in the chat room so far. We got quite a few people. We have Kent Hammers from Facebook. If anybody um, wants, you should follow or join the Kent Hammers Facebook group. It's pretty cool. And he's always opinionated. I love it. Neil from Down Under, I appreciate you as always. I'm so glad you finally got your scarf, Neil. It took forever. Um, hello, and who else we got here? Ben Davis. So Ben's been. Me and Ben go back when it comes down to James Tompkins. Me and him go back, with all my James Tompkins talks. So here we go. Chilean Hammers. See, from Chile. You know what I mean? They're all over social media too. We got Lee's good friend Ken McGuire. One of our bestest friends, Gaz. I miss you, Gaz. You know that. And we got Penny Lawless in here. Hello, Penny. Hello, Matt Howard. As always, I appreciate you. And thanks for everybody who's tuning in. Just so you know, John, we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope as well. So people on Twitter can see us and people on Facebook can watch this live right now. That's always good. And Ray Borum. Ooh, that's Lena. And that's Ray. There we go. So anyway. So was England playing today or something? Did I miss that one?
Yes,
Yeah.
European qualification, I believe. I think they won pretty clearly. But right, Declan played, I believe. He wasn't starting lineup.
4-0. 4-0. Look at that. That's
Right.
good. I was busy following the West Ham women's match, which they got demolished. They were losing 4-0 at the halftime to Man City, and sorry, I was busy. And because we have a show on this channel as well called We Are the Girls in Claret and Blue.
Right, that's all I did.
They talk about the West Ham women's team, and I was just trying to to watch the match so I can stay abreast of it. And it was awful. It was awful. But James Tompkins drink, yeah. So every time I say James Tompkins, everybody has to drink in the chat room. That's a.
I'll join them.
Oh man, the Yanks are playing later today. Well, I won't watch that. I have no interest in American soccer, so as they call it. No, thank you. Yeah. So anyway, let's get into some Hammers polls, man.
Sure.
If you don't mind. Gotta figure out how to pull this up, man. Just give me a second. Didn't prepare. Ooh, there we are. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Kind of. All right.
Yes.
I'll read it out loud anyway. So Roy Keane has expressed his opinions about Declan Rice on AHTV football, and he said, "Where do you want me to start? His positional play? I don't think he has been consistent enough. He doesn't stay with runners. What do you make of his comments? Do you agree with him, disagree with him, or are you bitter about Roy still?"
Oh, well, that's tough because I think the hype about Declan Rice has been a bit too much, really. He had a really good last season. He was fantastic last season. Really, he dominated the midfield, like really good. But this season, he didn't really play all that well. But I mean, you can say that's because of the team. That's because of the way they were playing. I don't know. To be honest, I was surprised when he was nominated for the England squad in the first place because he didn't really I didn't think the last 7 games or so that we all lost or drew or didn't get a win
Yeah.
from then. I didn't think that he should have been nominated for the club in the first place, for the team. I think it's harsh because he's only so young.
Yeah.
So I think he has still a lot of time to get better and to work
That
on
that is the
those
point.
criticism.
So that's the point. I agree about. I've been saying for so long. We don't. We have not seen his best yet. He's still
I
too
don't think
young.
yes,
He
right.
still hasn't got enough experience. His best years are, excuse me, like 2, maybe 3 seasons from now. So when everybody's talking about selling him, or we should
No,
sell him
no,
for 90 million.
no.
First of all, we'll never get 90 million for him, unless it's 3 or 4 or 5 years from now when he's actually worth it. Right now, his valuation is 50 million euro, and I think that is slightly a little high, because I mean, how do I put it? I'm not saying we should sell him. We'd never sell him. I mean, I don't want to sell him. He has his
Me neither.
future the next few seasons when maybe West Ham gets the rest of the team gets their shit together, or the club, the board, everything gets their shit together. He'll be at his peak. I mean, where he'll start to really perform at an elite level. He's not an elite player yet. He's not. I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he's gonna be. He will. He will. He will
Yes,
definitely
I agree with
be
that.
an elite player. Just not right now. I mean, that's nothing. I'm not slagging him off or anything. I'm just
No,
saying
no, me
that.
neither.
Yeah,
But the
exactly. I'm
problem
just saying that
also,
his best years are in the
I,
future.
I mean, I agree, but also, if we hadn't had Rice in the games that we had, and we would have played, I don't know, Carlos Sanchez in that role, right? We would have lost way higher. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of, as a team he's playing in isn't really playing all that way, so all that well. So of course he isn't gonna. I mean, he isn't gonna shine as well.
Yeah. Well, I think he's done much better for England than he has done for West Ham in the last few matches. Um, just like everybody else in the club. I mean, everybody else in West Ham has been playing shit lately. So I'm not gonna, I won't single him out, but I'm just saying he's not worth 90 million pounds. That's
But
all I'm
also
saying right
in
now.
England, he has he has in England, who's next to him at England plays a 4-2-3-1, I believe, don't they? So I'm just saying that Mark Noble, while he's of course a club legend, maybe he's not um, the best to play next to Rice because Rice is very defensive minded, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't really do a lot going forward yet. I think he could in the future probably, but I mean we just need someone in the midfield who's creative and carrying the ball, and I don't think Rice is there yet.
Well, it's really bizarre. It looks like again, I didn't watch the match, but it looks like England is set up in a kind of like a 4-3-3. It had
So what's the
Oxlade-Chamberlain and Winks in the midfield with
right?
Rice, and then up top it had Hudson-Odoi, Sterling, and Kane up top. And then they had 4 backs. So
Yeah.
um,
Right.
I don't know. I think that the guy for Leipzig, what's the manager's name there? Red Bull Leipzig. It's Nagelsmann, something like that.
Uh, well, yes, Nagelsmann.
Yeah, I mean, he's my dream manager, man. He plays a system that would work so well for Declan Rice, where he plays center back, but he also plays his holding mid position. He can bounce he could slide straight up and down uh, from his holding mid position, where he's very good, to center back, which is where he started his career, and he spent most of his time learning the position. I think, and also Allaire would I think do fantastic under a system like that. And I was informed today by many people that that's a manager that we'll never get, but because his stars on the rise. But anyway,
Right.
we would definitely benefit from a different style of play than what we're doing right now. is my point. We're too obvious, too what is it? We play too. Everybody knows what we're doing. Is my point. Everybody knows what we're going to do, and we don't deviate
Yep.
from that. There's no, trickery or I don't know. It's not very. I don't know. It's not the most intelligent.
Right.
But anyway, let's see what the people said. We said, do you agree with them? Let's just say agree with them, and 56% say they're still bitter. Okay, or he's still bitter. All right. After Mark Noble, who is West
Oof.
Ham's leader on the pitch? Rice, Diop, Antonio, or there aren't any? What do you think, John?
Um, I'd honestly say there aren't any, because I mean you can just see uh, that there are no leaders on the pitch. When and I don't think even Mark Noble is really
He
all
hasn't
that
been. Yeah,
right. You know what I
we
mean?
missed him.
It's not.
Yeah, we
There
needed him in
needs
the beginning. We didn't have him when we started the season, and then he came back from injury, and the whole atmosphere changed. Everything changed. We started to play. I mean, all our players started to, we started. Again, we beat Norwich and we beat Watford, but I don't know. The atmosphere changed. It looked like, oh, he was the answer, but at the same time, um, look where we are now. Look where we've been for the last 7 matches.
right.
No one's stepping up. Um, so yeah,
But
I agree.
I would hope though that Rice Declan is gonna be or is gonna become a leader on the pitch, because I just
Yeah,
think if he stays at the club he could be someone like Mark Noble.
easily.
I don't I
I
think
agree.
it's too early for him right now, because it's only, I
Me
don't know
too.
how old he is, 21 or something. And the other ones, Diop and Antonio. Diop, I don't really think he's gonna stay that long at this club. To be honest, I think he's just
Yeah,
way too good.
yeah,
And I mean, obviously, everybody at the club right now is just not all that good in form. But
yeah.
you know,
So leadership wise, you're right. Declan will be the leader in the future if he stays, because everybody seems to want him, and I do say that he will be extremely valuable for us if we keep him. If we kept him like we kept Mark Noble, um, he could have a stand one day, or he could have a statue. But that's the type of player he will be. He's not there yet. He's definitely not a leader yet. He's only 20, what, 20, 21, something like that, 20
right,
years old.
right,
Diop, I I I don't. I'm not really. He's not. How do I put it? I'm not his biggest fan right now. Antonio, he's a fun guy. Same thing with Noble. That's the other thing. The guy that cracks jokes all the time. Everybody talks about how funny Mark Noble is, behind the scenes, in the clubhouse. Um, the funny man shouldn't be the leader. You know what I mean? Same thing with Antonio. Like, how would Antonio be a leader? He's not.
I
He's not. He's too lighthearted and fun. I mean, that's not a leader, man. Kevin Nolan was a leader. That's the
right,
type of guy that we need again.
sure.
Um,
But also, I think Antonio is probably our best player right now.
who?
Antonio, Michael Antonio,
Antonio?
because I don't know. I just feel like he understands what the fans want from the club, and he loves this club as well. But also he has a lot of talent, and he plays so well in his position. I I think the loss of him, of Antonio, was bigger than the loss of Fabianski, really, because I just think Antonio is just everything just resolves around him, right?
Yeah,
Because if he's there, he can put it in the box for Alea,
yeah,
and he's also just so quick that we can maybe run a counter on the opponent. I just
yeah.
think
He's
that
great at that. Yeah,
Antonio, and losing Antonio was probably uh, yeah,
yeah. I'm not. This summer when we were signing more technical players, and even last summer when we signed Anderson, who's more of a technical player than a bull, someone who just bulldozer, just blows
Right.
through everything, and then hopes to God he'll keep the shot down, keep it in the net, not in the space. I used to hate. I mean, I get so frustrated with Antonio because I mean he would score these goals that I'm like, how the hell did he score that? And then the other times, I mean, he had a sitter. He should have easily scored that, and then he shot it up into the roof. Stuff like that. So I get so frustrated with him, but now I miss him. Now you're
Right.
right. I mean, we miss his passion, his desire, his desire to win. I mean, he had a desire to win, and that's what we're missing. There's no desire in the club at all, and I can't say missing Antonio was worse than Fabianski, but I would say it's very equal because if we didn't have Antonio but we
Right.
had Fabianski, we still managed to win a few games. Because at least there was confidence in the defense that we at least had Fabianski behind us.
Right.
Now,
True.
without Fabianski behind us, we could have Antonio, and we still wouldn't have confidence in
Uh,
Roberto behind us. So
but
we don't know what the defender, because the
I
defenders,
feel
man.
like that was always the plan from Pellegrini. Like the defense in general isn't really up to, I don't know, European standards. I think Pellegrini's plan was always just score more goals than you concede.
Yeah.
Because he put all his money in attacking players and Fornals and Haller. And I just think
Well,
he's not a defensive minded manager really.
no, no. Well, Sam Allardyce is out of a job. We should hire him as a defensive. No, we should hire him as a defensive manager. Like bring him on the coaching staff to work on the defense, kind of like
Right?
American football. Like
I
he'd be
mean,
our
yeah, sure.
defensive head coach.
But Bilic had the same problem though, hadn't he? In the first year, Bilic came back, or Bilic came to the club. The defense was working, and Bilic had organized like the offensive play, right? But the
Yeah.
defensive play was still Allardyce, really.
Yes,
And no, and
100%.
then after time, they just kind of, I don't know, lost the defense, and everything went to shit, really. And I
Yeah.
just, I think a defensive-minded coach, even like Moyes, really, is exactly what we need.
No, you're right. Well, to the poll question, we'll say there aren't any leaders right now, and yes, 56% out of 473 votes say, yeah, there aren't any leaders on the pitch. But out of the three, um, Rice, Diop, and Antonio, I guess the majority of the people think that Rice would be the leader out of that. Let's see here. Okay, here's a good one. Premier League clubs are cashing in on Christmas by hiking up the price of their club merch. West Ham have a $1,500, I'm sorry, not dollar, pound, a £1,500 signed shirt by goal scorers in the final game at Upton Park when they beat Man United 3-2 in 2016. So what? That's Reed, Antonio, and I don't know who else that would be. Who would buy one? Would you buy a £1,500 shirt signed by the goal scorers from that
Sure,
first season that you started watching the club?
100%. If
You
I had the
would.
money,
Oh, yeah, by the
right away.
way. Yeah.
It's I mean, that game is going to be talked about, or it's going to enter like the club history. It was an amazing game. I mean,
Yeah.
if you watch it live, I had goosebumps
Yeah.
the whole time through. So
No, I know. I know.
100%.
I would say no because just personally, I don't like autographs. I would rather not have anything signed. I'd rather have just the jersey. So I'm more of a, if I meet a player, I want to shake their hand, maybe give them a hug. I'd rather have that than have them sign something. And
Yeah. All right.
I don't know, but that's just a personal opinion. So let's just say yes and see what out of 203 people, what do they say? No.
Oh, whoa.
I guess it's here's why I think that's the answer. I think that 87% said no because they don't want to give £1,500 to the club.
Right. I can. Yes,
That,
I
yeah,
get that. I get that.
yeah. Let's see. With only a point between the two teams, I still can't believe that. What will be the result when West Ham play Tottenham on Saturday at the London Stadium in this relegation battle? Oh God! So you think West Ham will win? You think Tottenham will win, or you think it'll be a score draw, or do you think it'll be goalless?
That's a tough question though, right?
Very tough.
Because even at the last game, I I waited for the lineup, right, before I made a prediction. Then I saw the
Yeah,
lineup, and I really knew that we were going to lose because he didn't change anything, nothing. There wasn't anything new in that, and everybody knew what was coming.
yeah,
So I'd I'd wait till the lineup is released, because if he changes it, there's at least a chance that we might get something from the game. If he plays a 4-1 again, then
yeah.
Tottenham is going to win, no, just pretty easily, I'd say. But if he does change his system, we might have a chance.
Well,
And also, it's really the only game that all the players turn up. The Tottenham game, even last season, that the two games against Tottenham last season were amazing, or at least
yeah.
amazing to watch, really,
The
because the
problem
players
is,
really cared to get a win.
yeah.
I mean, they're
Well, we
probably
have
they're probably going to turn up for this game as well, but I'd say we wait for the lineup.
so a couple of things, right? One, as Matt Howard says in the chat room, um, he's stubborn. Pellegrini's
Right.
stubborn. He's not going to change
But
formation.
he's got to
Secondly,
he's got to realize though that
you'd think
if you
so.
haven't if he hasn't won a game in 7 games,
I
no
know.
win, and he's got to change something, right?
You,
At least
I
anything.
would hope. Yes, I would hope so. But I also hoped so 3 games ago. 3 matches. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Well,
this is
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
But any other manager, I can't say any other manager, but a younger manager, maybe someone with a brain in his head that isn't like fried, um, would say after 2 losses in a row, oh God, this is not looking good. Geez,
right.
they got to change something. But one win in what 7 matches or something like that. That shouldn't happen, especially with the players that we have. But anyway, I think it's a lot of people say, well, it's Roberto. That's the issue. Well, there was conflicting reports. So somebody said that I think it was Claret and Hugh said that Dave Martin was going to get his first start. They're done with Roberto. He's going to get his first start against Tottenham, and then not even 2 days later, Claret and Hugh reports, um, Roberto's going to get started. Roberto's
Mhm.
starting again. He's not going to change it. So if Roberto plays against Tottenham, we're fucked,
But
right?
the reason why Roberto is playing is I don't get it. They
I
signed
don't either.
David Martin to a training ground contract or something like that.
Yes,
Why?
in baseball they call it a bullpen catcher. So the guy who only just warms up the pitchers. But yeah,
All right. Cool.
it's a similar thing.
It seems so pointless. Why would you sign anybody just to be on the training pitch?
Especially a guy who has experience in English football. I
Right.
mean, I understand he's not been in the Premier League, but um, in Millwall's a shit club, but that's beside the point. At least he played against top teams in the Championship, some of which were
Yeah.
relegated from the Premier League.
I
He has
mean,
experience against
yeah.
Championship. Man, Championship is a tough league. He's got that experience. I trust that over Olympi Kakos or the Greek league, whatever that is. That's a shit league,
I mean,
That's where we
I
got
can
Roberto from.
understand why they sold Adrian, right? Because he was on a
Yeah,
lot of wages, and you probably didn't want to stay at the club. But then
he
you
wanted
got to
out.
bring in a replacement for that that's at least somewhat near the level of a Premier League goalkeeper.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But they were trying to save some money, I guess. So hopefully that extra money they saved, they can spend a little more in January.
And they're not gonna do.
Hopefully. Someone else asks, I wonder what happened with Masuaku. Pellegrini has not had him in the squad. That's a good question. I think Tottenham would be a great game to play him because he's He's very attacking minded, and if we have him and Fredericks on the sides, who are both fast and very technical and like to attack, that could help us out as long as we keep the ball out of our end. Keep the ball out of our end, and those two can do that. Hopefully,
The problem I see though is every time Masuaku and Anderson on the wing together, right?
yeah,
They're amazing going forward. Going forward, they just play off each other
yeah,
and they do like skills and stuff like that. But defensively, they're not running or tracking back the players as they
yeah,
should do,
yeah.
as Cresswell does.
That's true. No, you're right.
Like, is so you got to choose. Like, if you put Masuaku on, you're probably gonna be better going forward, and you're
That's
gonna
the funniest thing because Masuaku can defend. So if he takes the ball all the way up and he loses the ball, or he passes the ball to somebody else, they lose the ball. As long as Masuaku's around there, Masuaku will attack to get the ball back
right.
in you know in the opposite end. But you're right, he won't run all the way back. But if he's around the area where there's a ball, he's very good at getting the ball away from the opponent. He's very technical when he comes down to actually getting the ball away from the opponent. It's just running after him. No, he won't do that. You're right. And Fredericks is the same, well, except Fredericks on the other side, he'll
He
run.
has
He'll
he
run
also
after an opponent,
yes he
but
also has the pace to
he
catch
fouls.
up opponent.
Yes, but
Like
he doesn't have the
even if
technical ability to get the ball away from them. So he has the ability to catch him.
true,
He's
right?
super fast,
Yeah,
but he can't
all right.
get the ball away from
Yeah,
them.
I get it.
So Matt Howard says he'd like to see Boz
Peter Bosch.
or Nico Kovac as our next manager.
Yes,
Listen, take anybody.
Peter
I'm not
Bosch.
67 years old. Uh, 102. So
Both of them play very uh, attacking football.
I like that. Yeah.
Especially. I mean, Kovac. Kovac would be perfect for this team. I believe he might not be the best manager of all time, but even he played with Aller at Frankfurt, and the system
Exactly.
he plays is you're gonna lose some games because it's five at the back, right? So at some point you're gonna lose some games because yeah, right?
It
Gonna,
happens. I
you're
mean,
just
people
gonna lose
lose.
some
That's
games,
that's that's not a problem. Shit. Man City loses games. It's
right?
just, are we attacking? Are we trying to win? That's all I care about. Is if we put out a team that tries to win every game, and if we do win more than we lost, then even better. If we're trying to get into Europe, that's even great.
Right.
But no one really goes undefeated anymore.
But
No one doesn't lose.
also the
You know.
problem with both of them, really, especially with Peter Bosch, I believe, is he has one system, much like Pellegrini, really. And if you don't
Yeah.
understand that system, if you don't play that system, if you don't do it right, you're just gonna lose, really. But
Yeah.
if you play it perfectly, you're gonna win game after game. Really, it's
I'm gonna say, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm gonna say West Ham win on the just for shits and giggles, and yeah, everybody seems to. Well, 50% said out of almost 300 votes said
it's at home though, right? It's at
Tottenham
yes,
win.
it's at London Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it that. So, God, I like Arthur's win. Do you agree? Disagree? I'm not even gonna get into that. All right, I'm not even gonna get into those. So it's time for the rapid fire questions. I got 11 questions for you. I'll try to take this off here. Move to
Cool.
stream. There we go. So the first question is, so basically, it can be rapid if you want. If you want to elaborate, if you want to talk about it, your answers, that's fine. We have 11 questions.
Cool.
First one is, we ask the same questions to everybody that we interview. So meat pie or apple pie?
I'd say apple pie.
Okay, you're
Because
like neither.
I don't even know what meat pie is really. I heard it all the time, or I hear it all the time, but meat pie. But I don't even know what that is really.
Um, yeah, we need to change these questions based off of where people are from, so we can kind of put something in there that you know. Who's your favorite current West Ham player?
Oof. Uh, well, uh, I'd say Mark Noble because it's Mark Noble, really. But
That's
if we're
good.
going like is playing style or talent or really, I'd say Sebastian Aller, but only because I watched him last season, and I just think he's one of the best strikers that this club has ever had.
Yeah, and it would be nice to play him correctly so we can see that. I
But
mean, he's got
can I
all the
can I
talent in
just
the world, man.
right? But the problem is people say put Aller up front with somebody else, right? If you play two up top, he's just going to be better. But I don't think that's going to solve the problems really, because at Frankfurt they played three at the back with wing backs, right,
Hmm.
and somebody up top, somebody else up top. I mean, Haller and Rebic or Jovic.
Yeah.
Depends on who was fit really. They had so many options going forward that we just don't have. If we play three at the back, we play all our centre backs, Balbuena, Ogbonna, and Diop. That's all our centre back. We have nobody else. I don't think we can play any other system. We can only play four at the back. There's no other options. We could try Cresswell at the back again at centre back, but that didn't work out. So I don't. We can only play four at the back really.
Well, we could play Declan Rice at the back. We could play Balbuena, Diop, and Ogbonna. I mean, we
But
have
who else is? We have no. We have Diop, Ogbonna, and Balbuena, but nobody else. If one of them gets injured,
Reed. Reed's getting healthy again. He's actually getting some.
right,
He just
true.
got some more minutes with New Zealand. I
Didn't,
know. Listen, I
but they
don't think
said
he'll
no.
he'll ever be up to speed. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see him play again. But it's a body. He's there. Also, we got that Cardoso kid from under 23s,
Yeah.
who's been playing a lot of minutes for the under 23s. We also have other youth like Ben Johnson can play center back. He's not just a wing back. He can play. He played left back. He played right back. I mean, but he's also a center back. He's a back. He's a big back. We could use him, but we don't. And Pellegrini doesn't really enjoy using our academy players. Otherwise, we'd see Nathan Holland, we'd see Anthony Scully, we'd see Joe Powell, we'd see all these other kids, but we don't. So I don't know what his problem is with that. Yeah. So who frustrates you the most in the current West Ham squad? Which player just annoys you
um,
because he's got talent?
Felipe Anderson.
Same here, man. Yeah.
I,
At this time.
he obviously has talent. Every time he goes in one on one, he shows some skill that makes me believe he could be a better player. But also, if we are on the counter and we play it to Anderson, he just holds the ball up. He doesn't get it forward. He doesn't run with it. He just takes it back and waits for the other players. It's just I think if we put maybe somebody else in at left mid or left wing, maybe we could score on the counter.
Yeah. No,
But I don't know who else we have on left wing because Lanzini got injured, so I don't really know who else is. Holland, I believe, right?
Holland is a left winger, yeah.
Right.
Really. And I would love to see him play. Um, I love his under 23 highlights, man. I love it. And same thing with Scully, and same thing with Powell, and same thing with I mean, that whole squad. They're doing well. They didn't do so well against Exeter in the check a trade trophy thing, whatever they're playing down there. But besides that, the actual league play down there, they're doing awesome, and it's really nice to see. So, in your lifetime, what would you like to see? Would you like to see West Ham win an FA Cup, or would you like to see them finish in the top four?
I'd
Of the Premier League?
say, well, the FA Cup. I'd say I don't know why, but I'd say the FA Cup because uh, even if we do get into Europe at some point, even this season, next season, the season after that, I don't think we can compete in that yet because we don't. First of all, we don't have depth in the squad.
Right. Yeah.
because you're either gonna win the in Europe or you're gonna win in the league. You can't with our squad right now. You can't really do both. I think. So I'd say we go for the FA Cup and maybe win some silverware, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think we're gonna win. Even if we qualify for Europe, we're not gonna win Europa League.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine this squad going up against Bayern,
But
Real Madrid?
also the season at Frankfurt they had in the Europa League, the whole city was behind them. Everyone in Germany was behind them. It didn't matter if you support Bayern, Dortmund, anything else. When Frankfurt played in the semi-final of the Europa League, everyone wanted them to win because they just played beautiful football, really.
Yeah.
And I think if West Ham does get a European spot, I think it would really do some good for the club and for the fans and everyone to know
Yeah.
that this club isn't just staying where it is, but it's going somewhere. Because right
Exactly.
now we've played season after season. Everyone said or hoped for European place.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen. So if we play 2 or 3 other seasons at the same level at mid table, I don't even know if we can get new players in that are gonna get us to European football.
Well, that's the thing. So it's being in Europe is what's supposed to attract more players. And also it depends on who your manager is too. That also helps bring more players in. But I can't remember which one of our hosts or co-hosts always seems to bring up. They always say, "Well, remember the last time we were in Europe, how that went? You know, twice we lost to
Right?
Astro Gujo, whatever, the Romanian club.
Yes.
Those guys, yeah, we lost to them 2 years in a row. That was awesome. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So, but if we qualified for Champions League though, it'll be a whole new batch of different teams. Even at the qualifying stage, you know what I mean, or the opening rounds, wherever there are,
Hmm.
it would be a lot different than just qualifying for Europa. Europa,
Is
shit
fourth
travel, shit
Mhm. Is fourth place in the Premier League already Champions League or is it
Champions.
qualification? Champions League or is
Oh,
it qualification? I don't know.
good question. It's Champions League. I know you qualify for. I don't know if it's a qualifier or what. I
Me
think
neither.
fifth and sixth get Europa, and I don't even know if they get automatic into the group stages or not.
Yeah,
I need to brush up on my European. See, that's the thing. West Ham don't play in Europe,
right.
so I don't have any fucking knowledge of Europe. I'm
Also,
focused on West Ham.
the season they qualified for Europe, did they get 7? Right, the last season at the Bowling Ground, they finished 7th, right?
Yeah.
They qualified directly for the Europa League. But the season before that, they played in the Europa League as well, but they didn't qualify
No,
because they
it
finished.
was
They finished
the fair
because of
play.
right.
Yeah.
So basically, we only
They
played.
made
We
it
only
up.
played. Yeah,
Like that never happened before.
right.
It was the first year they did it, and we won it, and whatever that meant. You know, we had the least amount of yellow cards or something like that in the whole league, so they gave it to us. I don't even know how that happened, and I haven't seen it since. So, all right. So, what about West Ham? Do you love?
Well, it's tough to say. I would say the fans, but only because the fans are so passionate for the club, and the club is really all that matters, right? But it's difficult because the fans are really, I don't know. The fans, I love the fans about the club, but I also hate the fans of this club, right? Because they
Yeah,
7 games in or 7 games we haven't won a game, and they're completely losing their mind. They want to change the manager. They're blaming everyone in the club.
yeah,
I, I love the fans of this club, obviously, because they're the greatest fans in the world. But also, they need to realize that this club isn't European quality yet.
yeah. So the next question was, what do you hate about West Ham? And I guess you just answered it.
Right. The
It's you love
fans
and
as
hate,
well. Yeah.
and that seems to be everyone's answer. Honestly, every time we ask this question, usually what you love about West Ham is usually the support, the fans, the club, the feeling of being, around other West Ham fans. I mean, that's what the passion is. What everybody loves and what everybody hates is either the same thing, or it's the inconsistency. That seems to be the number one answer for what people love. I mean, I'm sorry, what people hate about West Ham is the fact that the West Ham way is always we beat the shitty team. I'm sorry, beat the big teams, lose the shitty teams. We can't string along 4 or 5 matches in a row with a win. Um, it's the inconsistency is usually what people say, but they also say the same thing. Fans. I say Twitter, but that's another thing.
Right.
So what's your favorite swear, curse word, bad word?
Uh, um,
Personally, like you can say whatever
well,
you
yeah,
want.
it's a fun story actually. It- I in Germany, I don't swear a lot really, or at least
Okay.
in German, because I use
I
English
like
words
shiza. I
because
use shiza a lot. I use that a lot, all the time, because I can't get in trouble for it. At work, I'm like, I'll bang my
it,
foot, I'll drop
it's
something like shiza.
exactly the same. If you yell an English curse word at work or at school, nobody, I mean, very few people can understand it. So the fuck probably.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. Yeah, that seems to be everyone's. That's the number one answer on this show, anyway. The C word is the next number two answer.
Well,
Um,
I don't understand that though, because
but
that's English though. Is in American
yeah,
English you don't really use that though all that much really.
and you're not allowed to in America. So
Right.
without, yeah, it's worse. But no, man, I love Shaza. I love it. I love that word. It sounds fun. I've been saying it since I was 10 years old. I had neighbors who were from Germany. Well, actually, um, the mother was from Germany, like Germany, and she married an American man, and their 2 kids I played with as growing up, and she was always. We used to call her Frau Scheiße because she used to say Scheiße all the time. Dummkopf Scheiße, all this shit, and I since I was 10 years old, I love that word. But anyway, that's my story. So next question is, which one team do you love to beat the most?
Tottenham. Yeah, Tottenham Spurs.
That's
Because
usually that's
yeah,
usually the number one answer.
because I've to be honest, I've never seen Millwall play a game
Yeah,
at all.
a
So
lot of
the biggest
people.
rivals we have is Tottenham.
Yeah, a lot of people say Chelsea as well. And then I said, and a couple other people have said Manchester United because they're probably one
Right.
of the um, most popular clubs in the world, and we get to play them. And when we beat them, which we have lately, quite a few times in the last 3 or 4 years, um, there's that many fans in the whole world, Manchester United, and just think that you just beat them, and now they're thinking in their heads, "Oh shit, we just lost to West Ham." I love that feeling because we can't play Barcelona or Real Madrid, but Manchester
Right.
United is one of the biggest clubs in the world when it comes down to popularity. So I love beating them. Yeah. So name a player, past or present, that is West Ham to you. Like they're West Ham.
I mean, that's pretty easy. It's Mark Noble.
Yeah. I mean,
I-
we
Yeah.
have to take that question out, I think, because that's what everybody says. We have a lot of fans on here from England that usually that have been following the club for a long time. We'll hear Julian Dix, Paolo Di Canio, Billy Bonds, Trevor Brooking. Um, we've heard other things from them, but usually the Americans or supporters from other countries, not
Right.
England, will usually say Mark Noble. Um,
But
yeah,
maybe just to say somebody else, James Collins.
James Collins, yeah, man. Phil
But
Collins,
sorry.
yeah, I see what you did there.
Maybe
Um,
not probably not because he's the greatest player, but because he always gave
oh,
100%. I think
100%.
he's he would do. He could really play in our first team right now. I mean, if he was still at the club, I would play him right away.
Yeah. Um, Kent Hammers says, if you had watched these draws home and away, like me, the last 7 games and a lot of the last years, you'd be going mad. Um, yeah, yeah. Well, I, you know what I
Le-
feel worse for? I feel worse for the people who get on the, wake up early, spend the extra money, get on the coaches or get on the train and travel away games regularly. Even not regularly, but someone who would just take that train or that coach, that bus to Burnley and watch that shit show. Um, I feel sorry for them more than anything else, and the club doesn't give a shit. Is that's what
right.
pisses me off, you know, because that's a lot of money. I mean, that's something where if you're a billionaire or almost a billionaire like David Sullivan, man, I if my team went out there and performed that bad against Burnley, I'd refund everybody. All those thousands, a couple, almost 4,000 people or something like that. I'd refund them all. I'd refund them. I'd do whatever I could, or give them free something. Do something.
Right.
Say sorry, we're paying attention to you.
Yeah.
We care about you, fans. Thank you for making the trip. Sorry, but that's what I feel bad for. So the final question is my favorite question. It's if you could take a time machine to go back in time to witness anything to do with West Ham, when and where would you go?
Let me just think about that. Wait, let me Google something, then I'll give you
Yes.
the answer. Well, it's the World Cup. They won in 1966,
Yes.
but only
That's the
because
best
they played
answer.
they played against Germany, really. So
Yeah.
I'd watch that game, really.
Yeah. That's my favorite. That's my favorite answer of that. We've heard the last game at the Bowl-In. We hear that a lot. We also hear the 1980 FA Cup because that's the last time we won an FA Cup. And a lot of the people who've had on the show weren't alive then. They would like to go see it, or they were young. Um, we've also heard the 75 or the 64 FA Cups. So we've heard a bunch of other things, but the one that I like to hear the most is who wouldn't want to see West Ham win the World Cup? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's awesome, and it was a great match too against Germany. I mean, it was a great, no matter what team you root for. I mean, that was a great match. Um,
But
and I've
also,
watched it.
the English or the English fans think the Germans are really upset about that game. I've never heard anybody in Germany talk about the World Cup of 1966. You don't hear about that game at all.
Oh, you've won it quite a few times since, haven't you?
Yes, we have, of course, but
So I
I mean,
think when you win, you forget the losses, right?
yeah,
You know,
sure.
that's what like we were saying earlier. You were just saying that earlier, John. You were saying if we go out there and beat Tottenham, we beat Chelsea, or we, between now and the end of the year, we win a few matches, and we bounce back up to say, seventh, eighth, ninth place. Everybody will forget about Pellegrini losing these matches or playing shit football,
Right.
and everybody will be happy about Pellegrini again.
The
So
problem is though, we've seen these bad runs of forms every season.
yeah,
Last season that happened, the season before that happened, and even the first season at the London
yeah,
Stadium. I mean, that was
it happens at different
just shit,
times.
right.
Yeah, so it happened last season. It happened at the very beginning. We lost 4 in a row,
Right.
and then we won a few in a row, and then it was just yeah, that's the thing. So you're right. It comes and goes. It's never the same time. Last season was very frustrating because we started the season off with those losses. We got up, we won some, we started to get excited. Oh, finally, we got it. Our players get it now. They're gonna play like this. And then it's like win, loss, 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 win, loss, loss. And then the whole Arnautovic thing in January, and our team was playing like shit in January, February, and then all of a sudden we finished the season win. We're winning again. Tottenham and Southampton and Watford and all that other good stuff. So we finished off great. Like, okay, great. Now that we can spend money in the summer, and next season is going to be awesome because we're winning again. And then we start off and we lose 6-0 or whatever it was, 5-0. I can't even remember. I don't care. But Manchester City, and we're like, oh Jesus, here we go again.
Right.
And then we win, and then we're like, oh shit. Listen, if anybody has problems with their blood pressure or cholesterol, this is not a team to support, because it's
Right.
very difficult. But anyway, John, I hope you had a good time.
I did.
I hope everybody in the chat room had a good time. I see Robert Locke just popped in, so thank you, buddy, for popping in. Hope you watched the replay. Roberto is crap. Yes, he is. Good job. Thank you, everybody in the chat room, for joining us. I hope you guys saw this on Periscope. We were streaming live over there on Twitter. We were streaming live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook people. And on YouTube. Thank you, everyone who got to watch this with us. And thanks, John, so much. There's a couple things I got to mention. Feel free to follow him on Twitter. It's at German Hammers, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, at German Hammers on Twitter. So feel free to follow him. And tonight we have a show at 9 p.m. Eastern time with 5 people. 5. We got Lee, the original co-host. We have Selly. We have a guy, Luis from Hammers Brazil. We got Charlie Boy from Brooklyn. And we got Liam from Fresno. So there's going to be 5 dudes talking about West Ham, going over some Hammers polls, some Knees Up Mother Brown, Claire and Hugh news items, and just talking about the news. Should be fun tonight. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video, like this video, spread the word. We got new designs in the shop. We have people, we got supporters groups from all over the world. Their logos in our shop where you can buy their merch, and then a little bit goes over to them. We also have other cool, unique designs in our shop, which is ahtv.threadless.com. And yeah, there it is, ahtv.threadless.com. So please head on over there and support the channel, support the different groups out there. And also, if you guys want to leave us a voicemail at any time, to bitch about something, to rant about something, our hotline is 512 we are AHTV, or AKA 512-937-2488. If you are not in America, there is a way to call us for free on this number. I don't know how, but there is a way. So maybe Google it or something. We'd love to hear from you. And then Monday night, we'll play these messages back and hopefully get some good ones. What else is there? Yeah, so Monday night we got that show. Tonight we got the West Ham Weekend Review show, and we got the shop. Oh, these scarves, man! We need some people to buy some of these scarves. So we got these are awesome, made by Roughneck Scarves, Seattle, Washington. Man, these they got our logo on it. They're West Ham colors. They're fantastic, and they're $25 a piece. And on our website, which is AmericanHammersTV.us. Please, go on there, buy a scarf, add a few extra dollars for shipping, depending on where you're living. And yeah, other than that, we'll talk to you tonight. And John, I'll talk to you off the air for a few minutes before we go. Okay.
Cool. Thanks for having me.